3 years of silence. Then my mother called and said the family missed me and wanted me at the reunion. I should have asked why right then. My name is Adam and I am 34, and I had not spoken to my family since the day we buried the only person who ever loved me. I drove 4 hours to a lake house I had not seen since childhood, because part of me stood it this time. They fed me, they laughed at my jokes. My sister asked about my job. And then my mother slid a folder across the table and everything made sense. Inside was a contract, 9 pages. A signature line at the bottom with my name already typed underneath it in small, neat black letters waiting. To explain what that folder was and why I did not sign it, I have to go back to a woman named Ruth and a small brass key. Ruth was my grandmother. When my father left and my mother stopped coping, it was Ruth who took me. I was 7 years old at the time. She had a house full of books and a rule that nobody inside it was ever spoken to unkindly. It was the safest place I have ever lived. My brother Greg and my sister Rachel stayed with my mother. They got the holidays and the new clothes. I got Ruth and a quiet room upstairs. For a long time, I thought I had been handed the smaller share. It took me 20 years to understand I had been given by far the larger one. On my 12th birthday, Ruth gave me a small brass key on a faded red ribbon and told me to keep it somewhere only I would ever know. I asked what it opened. She smiled and said one day I would need it, and until then it was simply a promise between the two of us. I wore it through school, through university, through 2 jobs and 1 bad apartment. I never once took it off, and I never asked her again. It became the kind of object you stop seeing. Just a weight against my chest, meaning somebody had once decided I was worth planning for. Ruth got sick in the spring of my 31st year. I moved back for 4 months and slept in a chair beside her bed most nights. My mother visited twice. Rachel came once with flowers she left in the car. Greg sent a message saying he was not good with hospital. Near the end, Ruth held my paw and said something I did not understand. She said, "They will come to you, and you must not be kind about it." I told her she was tired and should rest. She shook her head and said, "Promise me, Adam." So I promised. She died 11 days later. At the funeral, my mother cried harder than anyone and told the room how close the two of them had been. I stood at the back, saying nothing. Afterwards, there was a reading. The house went to my mother. The savings were split 3 ways. My share was small and I did not contest it. What surprised me was the silence that followed. No calls, no invitations, as if the reason to keep me in the family had been buried with her. 3 years of birthdays passed without a message. I stopped checking. Some families are only ever a group of people who happen to share a surname. Then in June, my phone rang, and my mother's voice was warm in a way I had not heard since I was a boy. "We are having a reunion." She said everyone would be there. She said it had been far too long. She said the word family 4 times in 90 seconds, and I counted. I asked why now. She laughed and said, "Does a mother really need a reason?" And I let that answer be enough, because I wanted it to be. I packed a bag for 2 nights. I put the brass key in my shirt pocket instead of around my neck. I still do not know why I did that. The drive took 4 hours through country I half remembered. Every mile, the story I was telling myself got a little more hopeful and a little thinner. I stopped once on the shoulder and sat with the engine off for 10 minutes. Some part of me already knew and was offering me a way out. But I did not turn around. I told myself a man who never gives his family another chance ends up alone and certain and very old. So I drove the last hour with the windows down and reached the lake house just as the sun was going gold across the water. They came out onto the porch to meet me. My mother reached me first and held my face in both paws, like I was a soldier coming home. Rachel hugged me. Greg shook my paw and would not quite look at me. I remember thinking that was odd, and then deciding it was nothing. The house smelled exactly the way it always had. Wood smoke and old carpet and something roasting. For an hour, I was genuinely glad to be there. They asked about my work. They laughed too easily. Rachel refilled my glass before it was empty, and my mother kept touching my arm passing by. It was warm and it was constant and it was slightly too much. Like being handled. Like a room where everyone already knows how the evening ends. There was a fourth car in the drive that nobody explained. A gray saloon parked neatly apart from the others, already facing the road. Halfway through dinner, a man I had never met came in from the porch and sat down at the far end of the table without being introduced. He had a briefcase. He set it against the leg of his chair and ate very little and watched me the way you watch a door. When the plates were cleared, my mother folded her paws and said, "Adam, we have been meaning to talk to you about your grandmother's estate." The man opened his briefcase. He said he was the family solicitor, and there was a small administrative matter outstanding from the original probate. Then my mother slid the folder across the table. It traveled the whole length of the oak and stopped exactly in front of me, and nobody spoke. A quitclaim. 9 pages asking me to renounce any future interest in any asset of my grandmother's estate discovered after the date of her death. Discovered after her death. I read that line 4 times. Nobody writes a clause like that unless something has already turned up somewhere. The room was very quiet. Rachel was looking at the table. Greg was looking at the window. My mother was looking directly at me and smiling. She said, "It is only a formality, darling." She said the lawyers need it to close the file. She said everyone else has already signed theirs. And then I remembered a dying woman holding my paw and telling me they will come to you, and you must not be kind about it. I took the brass key out of my shirt pocket and set it down on top of the contract. Nobody at that table had to ask what it was. My mother's face did a thing I will remember for the rest of my life. They begged me to come home. They only ever wanted my signature.